Shahad Ali is here. He will say, he's like Mikey from the commercial when we were kids. He'll eat anything. He will say anything. A political commentator and the host of the Democracy-ish podcast and the author of the Left Hook Substack. I was going to say it's like a baby that you have to change all the time. And, you know, after a while, you're like, I'm tired of doing this. It's time for you to pick up your own poop or go. It's time for you to be potty trained. That's what I was going to say, because this is a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, it's so much bullshit. There's a word in Arabic. It's called bullshit. Bullshit.
Oh, it's called bullshit. Oh, that's a bullshit. Okay.
This is Ramadan Mubarak, everyone.
Did I do it right? Bullshita.
Yeah, bullshit. That's okay, Italian. The bullshit is Italian, but this is a cover-up. And I think you said the word. This is a cover-up. They're covering up an international cabal of pedophiles, and I think the leader of it is Donald Trump, who has been mentioned more than any other person in the Epstein files.
Okay, pause right there. Pause right there. We're going to get to that. I screwed up because I want to talk to you about Trisha McLaughlin. That's what
let's talk about it,
and then we can do Epstein. So Trisha McLaughlin, she's even been lying about it. She's lying about everything. Like, what the hell? And why do you think she was fired? Let go.
Well, it's a cover-up, right? I think there's
another cover-up.
Yeah, because what you mentioned, I think, is very important. First and foremost, let's not forget that ICE has, to our knowledge, killed 8 people in the new year, including Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretty. If you include Keith Porter, that's 9. He's the black man who was killed by ICE in LA, but there was no video. That was right before the turn of the year, right? So at least 9 people that we know of, all right? We also know that there was a homicide. When they did an autopsy of the man in Texas in the detention center, it was homicide. So we don't even know how many people they've killed in detention. As this is happening, I'm glad you mentioned it, that the administration said that they are domestic terrorists. I want to remind everyone that Kristi Noem, our DHS secretary, while Renee Nicole Good's body was warm, said that she was a domestic terrorist, Don, and that she had weaponized her car against Officer Ross. We also saw that language being used by Stephen Miller. We saw that language being used after Alex Pretty was killed, right? He's a domestic terrorist insurgent, right? The Department of Justice is not, folks, I want you to be infuriated right now. The Department of Justice is not investigating Renee Nicole Good's murder. Don, they're investigating or attempting to investigate her widow, which has prompted to numerous resignations of career prosecutors.
And don't I know that?
Exactly. As this is happening, I want you all it's all connected. This administration will not investigate the murderer of Renee Nicole Good. This administration will not investigate ICE who are terrorizing our cities. This administration will not investigate pedophiles. This administration will investigate Don Lemon and black journalists for exercising the First Amendment right. This administration will investigate the widow of Renee Nicole Good. And I believe they have overreached, Don. To your question, I believe the rats are trying to jump the sinking ship, but there are some rats who are still, pardon me for this image, sucking at the teat of Donald Trump. They're connected. I think some people will have to go down with the ship. Those people are Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, I would probably say Kash Patel, maybe even Kristi Noem, and also Pam Bondi. I think those people have seen too much, done too much, so their backs are against the wall, and they're like, we got to write this out. But the other small rats, like this one, they realize, okay, too much, too many lies, too much cover-up, and I think the fall guy or the fall girl is plastic surgery face of, I think even Kristi Noem's face is going to jump off and crawl away. I think they're too soon. I think they've made Kristi Noem the fall girl for this. Her face is going to jump off. You're going to see the face is going to go, adios. And wouldn't it be hilarious if her face is Mexican? The face is going to, I didn't sign up for this. Adios.
Are you saying her face is like a separate being from her body?
Yeah, I think her face is now a separate being. There's so many chemicals that her face has become like. You ever seen the movie Total Recall? It's that little creature that comes out of the chest. That's her face.
Is that the one with? Is that the Bruce Willis movie?
No, man. That's
what's the one with
Arnold
the thing where, Arnold, where it goes.
Yeah. There you go.
That thing. Okay, not like Face Off. Look, I don't want to criticize a woman for her looks, but
I'm perfectly fine criticizing Kristi Noem and the MAGA women. I just want to say that.
You are. A lot of folks are. So let's continue to talk. I want to discuss this one. This is McLaughlin calling Somalis the nexus of terrorism. Watch this, Somalians.
President Trump has done such a phenomenal job of removing these silos between our intelligence agencies, between the FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security investigations. We've been all over this. I mean, we've also seen, a nexus of terrorism there as far as this Somali population and others in these communities giving money to terrorist cells outside of our country. That's something we're certainly tracking down.
The nexus of terrorists? Wow. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, first of all, I feel like she's in a hostage video. I feel like she's blinked twice. She doesn't even sell it enthusiastically. If you go back and see the clips, I think she knows it's all BS. It doesn't matter. I'm not God. I can only judge people by their actions, not their intentions. She's complicit. But this whole, Don, let's go back. Let's remind people, this administration has tried since the summer to create their own version of Iraq-style fire. They unleashed ICE against Latino communities in LA. They deployed them against Home Depot and also 7-Eleven. And the Wall Street Journal said that Stephen Miller deliberately tried to do it to incite conflict. Guess what? The Latino communities were peaceful to the point where even the LAPD complimented them, right? Then they're like, all right, we got to find something else. Aha, the murder of Charlie Kirk. Before there was anybody, the investigation, which was, of course, derailed by Kash Patel. Hey, Don, it's me, your friend Kash. Sorry. I'm going to Valhalla. Don. They blamed the radical left. It ended up being Tyler Robinson. Then you saw the National Guard members being killed. They saw an Afghan refugee. They're like, we'll go after the Muslims. That Afghan refugee worked for the CIA, right? Part of this terrifying group in Afghanistan. And also he was given citizenship under the Trump administration. Then, if you recall, the next week, Somali, all in on Somalis for a month, right? Somali fraud, right? Then they've tried to pivot, right? So then they've tried to pivot. And this is why there's this escalating BS. Venezuelans, Somalis, Muslims, the radical left. It's all a cover-up for their own crimes, covering up the Trump Epstein pedophile ring and also covering up their abuses where they have unleashed ICE to terrorize their communities. And finally, when it came down to it, I think, what I've heard and what I've seen and what I've been told from others is they were so pissed off in the Trump administration that the two victims were white people. They got a white woman, not a Latino, not a black person, Renee Nicole Good, and they got a white man, Alex Preddy, and it was captured on camera. And they didn't expect or anticipate that white America, Don, that white America would say that what you and me and everyone else has been saying, that they're terrorizing our communities. And so I don't know if you've seen the polls. 47% of plurality of Americans, Don, for the first time, are for abolishing ICE. And 60 to 65% of Americans say ICE has gone too far. And Donald Trump's signature issue, folks, immigration, he's negative 20 plus points. So the rats are jumping the ship, and I believe they're going to have Kristi Noem. So far, I think the fall person is going to be Kristi Noem, if anyone falls.
Yeah, okay, Kristi Noem. I think that it'll be, but also Pam Bondi. But maybe he would, because if she's leading the Justice Department, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. So I don't know. Maybe she has more job security than Kristi Noem. I think Kristi Noem is out. They let her out of witness protection the other day to talk for her, and then she screwed something else up. But here's the thing I want to ask you real quick.
Please.
We're talking about Pam Bondi. I think that she is probably somewhere on a short list, but as I said, maybe a little bit more job security than Kristi Noem. That display that happened last week that Donald Trump came out and said she did a great job for, this Donald Trump usually can read his folks. I don't think he's doing a good job of reading what's happening out in the world, in the zeitgeist, because everyone is making fun of that moment, and saying, oh, at least the Dow is up to 50,000. This was her in that moment, and I'm going to talk to you about it.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now.
Pause.
S&P
she knew. Did you hear that? In that moment, she knew how ridiculous she sounded.
Yep.
Did you see her? She laughed at herself. Back that up a little bit. She's like, she knew she was lying. Watch. Listen closely.
You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming.
Okay.
That's what we should be talking about.
That's what we should be talking about instead of the victims of sex trafficking wanting some sort of closure and justice for what happened to. I hate that word closure because I don't know if they'll ever have closure, but they wanted some sort of, they wanted to see the men who trafficked them face some sort of consequence, and the men who abused them, who mentioned in that Epstein file, to face some sort of consequence. And she has the nerve to talk about what obviously Donald Trump called her or sent a memo or one of his flacks saying, this is where you got to talk about all the good stuff that we are doing. And it just makes her look like an idiot and the administration look like idiots and desperate.
And she wouldn't even turn around and look at the victims. And I think this is very important. I'm going to say this again, folks. I've been saying it since the summer. And Ro Khanna, who I interviewed, I think last week, agreed with me. He says, you know, Waj, I wouldn't have used this word in the summer, but what we've seen, this is a cover-up. Who also used that word yesterday? Hillary Clinton. Who also used that word? Representative Jayapal. And what we saw in that performance, that audience was an audience of one. Pam Bondi is not the Attorney General of the United States of America, Don. Pam Bondi is the defense counsel of President Trump, which is why he's never going to let her go, because she's his Luca Brasi, his henchwoman, his Tom Hagen, if you will, but an incompetent Tom Hagen. Rest in peace, Robert Duvall. She is the prosecutor against all of his enemies, which include you, Don, right? She is not there for justice. She's not there for the victims. And as we know from Wall Street Journal's reporting, she informed Donald Trump last year that he's in the files. They have known since last year he's all up in the files. We have known that the DOJ instructed the FBI to spend 24 to 48 hours locked up to comb through the Epstein files, not for investigative purposes, to give justice to the victims. You know why, Don? To find Donald Trump's name and to redact it. This is a cover-up. She's complicit in the cover-up, but there are so many lies now, Don, that they can't. It's just bursting out, right? Look at this. Look at this disgust. She didn't even turn around to look at them. And furthermore,
and look, this is damning, but the video I think is even more damning. And this captures a moment in time, which is great. But the video of her just sort of thumbing through like this,
exactly,
they're standing over her shoulder, is quite telling. This is, go on. Sorry to cut you off.
Well, and right
and
here,
playing with her hair,
with Jayapal, right?
Yeah.
You know, some big news that got lost. And I think, you know, just because there's like 19 fires, Pam Bondi, folks, had a binder, and the binder was captured. The binder had search history of Representative Jayapal. There you go. And that search history, specifically, I asked Jayapal about it, Representative Jayapal, on our friend Joy's show on Friday. So when Jayapal and the other elected officials went to SCIF to go in the database and search, you know, for the Epstein stuff, all of their searches were being surveilled on by the DOJ.
Yeah.
Not only that, they had staffers then print it out, collate it, and give that data to Pam Bondi. So if I used you an example, Don, a couple of days ago, I said, if the DOJ and the Trump administration can kill Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy, and ICE can kill Alex Preddy, they can kill you. If they can investigate Don Lemon, they can investigate any investigative journalist and any independent journalist. And if they can spy on Representative Jayapal, what will they do to you, America? And that's a question I want the Trumpers and the triple Trumpers and MAGA folks to really think about. If they can kill Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy, who are white, and they could lie to our faces about it and then cover it up, what will they do to you?
We're here with Wajahat Ali, and we're talking about the spiraling, I said circling of the drain or as we used to say when I went to LSU, we would say around the bowl and down the hole, roll tide roll, because that was our biggest nemesis. But around the bowl and down the hole, I mean, roll, MAGA roll. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy what's happening. Back in moments with Wajahat Ali and others. First, a word from our sponsors. Support comes from Bio-Optimizers. Okay, let me tell you what I'm trying right now. I kept hearing about magnesium breakthrough, and people were saying, this one is different. You know, me, I don't really jump on the hype. I try it first. Most magnesium supplements only have 1 or 2 forms. This one has 7 forms, plus cofactors to help your body actually absorb it. And that's what got my attention. I'm focused this year on better sleep, real recovery, and just feeling calmer overall. So I started taking magnesium breakthrough as part of my nighttime routine. And here's what I'm doing. I'm taking it before bed. I'm tracking my sleep as much as I can and paying attention to how I feel when I wake up. And here's the thing. They offer a 365-day No questions asked, money back guarantee, a full year. That's pretty confident. So try it with me. Let's see what better sleep actually does for our mood, focus, and energy. Go to biooptimizers.com/Don Lemon and use the code Don15 for 15% off of any order. Make 2026 the year you finally sleep well. Support comes from Shopify. When I launched the Don Lemon Show, I had the vision, but the logistics, that's another story. Merch, websites, payments, design, shipping, it adds up fast. So that's where Shopify comes in. Shopify powers millions of businesses and about 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from huge brands to people just starting out. We use Shopify for our merch, and it makes everything clean and simple. You get beautiful templates, built-in AI tools that help write product descriptions and headlines, tools to run email and social campaigns, inventory management, international shipping, returns, all of it in one place. And when that first order comes through, that's the sound that never gets old. So if you're ready to sell a product, an idea, your creativity, whatever it is, you're ready for Shopify. Start your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. Ka-ching. Andy kept in the ka-ching. So Wajahat, I feel like, I forget, can anybody remember who Bewitched's brother? I think Bewitched had a brother, and I forgot his name. Her name was Samantha. She did. And so when I do that, like, ching, I feel like, I'm like Bewitched.
You're doing the deep cuts for us old unks with Bewitched. I understood that reference. Your producers probably don't. They're Googling Bewitched. The Nicole Kidman movie, we're like, no.
No. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's discuss more. Do you care to talk? Let's talk more about Freddie and also more about, about McLaughlin and about what's happening with the Epstein files. The thing about McLaughlin that I wanted to talk to you is when she said in that soundbite, Wajahat, that we need to let the investigation play out, and the investigation will reveal this and it'll uncover and we'll get new information. But my question is, what investigation?
And what will it reveal? Listen, if you notice, you see this happening right now. I'll give you two examples. Peter Attia, Dr. Peter Attia, mentioned many times in the Epstein files. Peter Attia, for those who don't know, it's his doctor who was selling longevity, right? Yeah. His emails are disgusting in the Epstein files. I mean, just vile. He was hired or retained by, wait for it, CBS News and Barry Weiss. They still, there you go, Peter Attia. And by the way, I don't know if you saw, Don, as of yesterday, it was leaked that CBS News, despite the outrage over Peter Attia's very close ties to Epstein, the disgusting emails, the fact that he lied about his association, right? Guess what? CBS will retain Peter Attia, all right? Not Stephen Colbert, they'll retain Peter Attia, who also has lied about their extensive ties to Epstein, right? Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, still in the White House, right? This man has lied repeatedly about his close ties. It's almost as, it was 2018, he was talking to Epstein, right? So this is a man who was neighbors with Epstein. They possibly did business Epstein. So this administration, if you notice, folks, their MO, they never ever say that they were wrong. They never apologize. They double down. It's the Roy Cohn method. Roy Cohn used to be Donald Trump's mentor, one of the most odious pieces of shit in history in the 20th century. And Roy Cohn, Donald Trump, you never ever apologize. You fight, you deflect, right? And so now you're seeing Barry Weiss has that same mindset. This Department of Justice has this mindset. I want to remind you all that Abrego Kilmar Garcia should have never, ever, ever been arrested, kidnapped, and sent to die in a foreign prison. Why? Because ICE itself said, the administration had said, oops, we removed this guy by mistake. So what they should have done in a normal administration, if I was in the Trump administration, yes, we didn't make a mistake, but someone lower than us made a mistake, we'll bring him back home. You know what they did, folks? For almost a year, they doubled down and they defamed this man, said he was a trafficker and this and that. So their MO, Don, never apologize is weakness, double down. Clearly, Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy are not domestic terrorists. Clearly, Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller effed up. Say that they're not domestic terrorists. But instead, what are they saying? Oh, we're still looking under that. And, there's still going to be an investigation. And like you said, Investigation into what? Because what we know is you're investigating Renee Nicole Good's widow, which has prompted at least a dozen prosecutors to resign. They can't even keep the lies straight.
I want to talk to you about something. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just want to get your take on it because you had a viral moment that happened. Was it this week or last?
Friday night on Joy's show.
Friday night. Okay, here it is.
Representative, may I?
Yes.
I'm going to give you some numbers. Just today, it came out that ICE is using $38 billion to convert warehouses into camps. I'm going to call them concentration camps. Your colleague, Representative Raskin, went to one just yesterday in Maryland and said there were 60 people cramped like sardines in one room who only had access to one toilet. 65% of people taken by ICE had no convictions. That's from the Cato Institute, a right-wing institute. ICE has killed 8 people this year alone that we know of. 2 of them, Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretty. The latest polls came out this week, AP polls. Over 60% of Americans now disapprove of ICE. That means in 3 weeks, it's gone from 30% to 60%. Now, if I may, I'm going to be a bit blunt here. Leaders lead. And what we've seen is people are impressionable. If you lead on something, people will follow. It seems the wind is behind your back for the first time ever. ICE has a history. CPP has a history of terrorizing Black and brown communities. People are asking themselves, why are we, our taxpayer dollars, paying for masked, lawless men to terrorize our communities, kidnap people, take children, and kill Americans? So I ask you, and I'm doing following up to Joy, because I want an answer to this. You said you want to rein in ICE. I'm talking about the long term now. Why not lead and say abolish ICE? Because what you're telling us is you want our taxpayer dollars to pay for a lawless masked armed agency to continue terrorizing our cities. And I'm trying to figure out how you, as a leader, can be telling Americans that their taxpayer dollars should be going to ICE.
I don't understand anything that you just said.
I spoke English.
I don't understand anything that you've just said to me when I've made clear that taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize or kill them. That's the whole reason we're in this fight right now. That's the whole reason the DHS is getting ready to shut down. That's the whole reason why
you agree with me, Joy. Abolish ICE.
That is listen. I'm going to use the language that I want to use. You can use the language that you want to use. And the language that I'm using right now relates to these type of bold, meaningful, dramatic changes that are designed to save lives right now in communities that look like the ones that I represent.
Okay.
And that's the goal.
Okay. All right. So listen, I understand what he's saying. And I'm not both sides in here. He's saying, don't put words in my mouth. Essentially, what I'm doing is saying to defund ICE at this point, when people were talking about defund the police. But there are, even though the public sentiment about ICE is not good, there are still people who believe, rightly or wrongly, but that there is a role for ICE in this country, but not in the current iteration that is now, because there are some good men and women who do work for the Homeland Security Department. They're not those people out there on the streets, Wajahad, who only have 47 days of training.
Then it is the leader's responsibility to articulate what you just said. It is up to him then to break down why he is opposed to abolish ICE, if he is, and then say, well, you know what, Waj, I understand that a plurality of Americans are for abolish ICE, and that number skyrockets with Democrats, but this is a better path. Let me explain to you my better path. Let me tell you my intention, Don, in asking that question. I thought I gave him a meatball down the middle, a nice meatball on a plate. I didn't expect him to say abolish ICE. What I expect him to say is something that you would say, articulate, well, listen, we're not at abolish ICE right now. The reason why I'm not is because of this reason. And this is our strategy right now. And we believe we should not abolish ICE, but temporarily defund it. And then we can revisit DHS. Perfectly fine. I might not agree with it, but perfectly fine. But this shows you the disconnect with the Democratic Party. They don't communicate. They don't connect the dots. And I believe, Don, they're removed. They're removed from their own base when it comes to numerous issues. And what they're telling us, like they said in 2024, shut up and follow our lead. Either you're going to vote for us or you're going to vote for Donald Trump. And to be fair to Joy, before I asked that question, Joyanne was like good cop. She gave him 3 opportunities, Don, follow-up after follow-up. And he still did this weird AI word salad where he just swam around it. And then he said, I want to rein them in. To which I ask, What do you mean by rating them in? Just give me specifics, Don.
Well, I said to him basically similarly to what you said. But my question to him was, because I could be wrong, and I wondered, is ICE in its current iteration, is it even redeemable? Because maybe they're not redeemable. And so they need to start from scratch. Right. So that
ICE was only, Don, my response to you is this. I'm old enough to remember when ICE was created, 2003. It was not created in the 20th century. This Trump administration got rid of USAID. They don't give an F. They got rid of the Department of Education. It's not the police. Police is an institution. There's movies made about the police. We romanticize the police. We need police. There's people of color in the police department, right? ICE are masked. They're lawless. They're operating with impunity. They're terrorizing our cities. And many people are now asking themselves what we've been saying for 20 years. Why do we need ICE? If this is what ICE is doing, maybe we don't need ICE. And furthermore, why the F does ICE have $175 billion? The final point I'll make is, folks, to infuriate you, the Republicans passed the big billionaire bill. Permanent tax cuts for the rich. You know how they're paying for those tax cuts?
Yeah.
$1 trillion from Medicaid. But you know what they squeezed into that? $175 billion for ICE, which makes ICE, if it was a standalone country, the 17th best funded army. If it was
outrageous.
And now they're using $38 billion to convert warehouses across America into concentration camps. And we just found out yesterday that 2-month-old in Texas, the 2-month-old who was born in the camp, choked on his own vomit, and he had to be rushed to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
How can we support this, Don?
Wajahat, stand by, because I have some other folks. I don't know if you have to leave us, if you can stay, but we have some other folks who need to get on. Rachel Bidikofer is here. She's going to talk to us about what's going on in the news, including election integrity, and are we going to have a legit election in come November? Lots of feedback, though, Rachel. I just want to warn you before we get to you. We're going to see if we can fix that. First, we're going to get a word in from our sponsors. This episode of the Don Lemon Show is brought to you by BetterHelp. February can feel like a spotlight on your love life. Everywhere you look, there are flowers, big gestures, perfect couples, and a lot of us are just, figuring it out, right? So here's what I know. Wherever you are, married, dating, single, rebuilding, you're not behind. You're on your own timeline. Therapy helped me learn how to sit with the things instead of rushing to fix them, to ask better questions, to figure out what I actually want. BetterHelp makes that first step easier. You fill out a short questionnaire and they match you with a licensed therapist. If it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time. They have over 30,000 therapists and they have helped more than 5 million people. So if you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just need clarity, this could help. You get 10% off of your first month at betterhelp.com/DonLemon. That's betterhelp.com/DonLemon. This episode is brought to you by Graza. Now, if you cook, you know olive oil matters. I host a lot and I care about what's on my countertop and what's in the pan. Graza is my go-to. It's fresh, never blended, made from top quality olives, and they print the harvest date right on the bottle. They've got sizzle for everything, everyday cooking, sauteing and roasting, and marinating. Drizzle is that bowl finishing oil for salads, bread, and anything that needs a pop. And Frizzle handles high heat for grilling and frying. And now they've got olive oil, mayo, and aioli in stores. Rich, creamy, actually made with quality oil. It's top shelf without feeling precious. You can taste the difference. Head over to graza.co and use the code LEMON for 20% off of your first order, and grab the mayo at your local store next time you're there. Okay, thank you to our sponsors. We're back now with Wajahat Ali, political commentator, the host of Democracy Is Podcast, and the author of the Left Hook Substack. If you can stay with us a little bit, we'd appreciate it. But if you have to go, no problem, because I'm sure Rachel Bidikofer and Max Tanning can fill the void. Rachel Bidikofer is a national political analyst, the author of Hit 'Em Where It Hurts, an editor of The Cycle on Substack. And Max Tanning is a media editor for Semaphore, and we love having him. And it was also great being on your podcast and hanging with you guys recently, and having you on the show. Okay, so thanks to all of you. Here's my question. Are we going to have a free and fair election in November of 2026? And will the media cover it, especially will they cover it properly? Are they equipped to cover it, considering what's happening, especially at CBS, which we want to talk with Max about? Rachel, are we going to have a free and fair election? Because let me play this. This is what they're saying they're going to do in November of 2026. This is Steve Bannon.
You're damn right. We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen.
Rachel?
Number one pram. I mean, that's so UK, right? For America first. Here's the thing. We know that they are going to try to make voting difficult where they can make it difficult. We also know that, you know, the pathway to the Senate is going to be very narrow. Democrats have to flip 4 seats just to get a majority in the Senate. And that's going to involve holding on to seats too in places like Georgia, where they've given the Georgia Republican Party has given itself, rather, the power to decide whether to certify based on their thought, belief, or whatever it might be, a fraud, right? So, you know, they're going to definitely mess around as much as they can. I think that it's absolutely possible that we'll see ICE, you know, deployed at polls. I think these people are capable of anything, as the other guest was just pointing out. They're building a $38 billion concentration camp system. So we have to take them. They're at their word, and they're telling us they're going to mess with it. But the real power comes in 2028. The House of Representatives has to certify. You know, they have tried to make that less open to what happened in 2020, but it's still like, if you have control of the House, you control the House. And I don't see Mike Johnson doing us any favors on election integrity. So I think it's really important Democrats keep in mind that although they're trying to rig the scales, there is enough appetite to have a big blue wave in 2026 that will wash over some of their, you know, nefariousness. And it's very important that people vote. This may be the most important election in their life now that we've
But Rachel,
the last
I agree.
one,
I
so.
agree with you. I think you're being very optimistic. I think these people will stop at nothing to
Right.
intimidate people and to change whatever they can with voting. Before I get to Max, I want to play this because listen, what does Christy Noem mean? They let her out of witness protection the other day, and then she said this. I don't know, just illogical thing about that should not have been said out loud. This is a quiet part out loud. She's saying the right people to vote for the right candidates. Here she is.
And elections is another one of those critical infrastructure responsibilities that I have as well. And I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it.
Waj, quick answer, because I want to bring Max in to talk about the media, but I'm not as optimistic as Rachel. And I love that. I love Rachel's optimism. Don't get me wrong. That's why I have her on there. She's great. But
You're the only person that's ever called me an optimist.
I just think you're being, honestly a bit traditional about the process. And I don't think
I said they're going to send ICE to the polls. It's going to be very difficult to certify an election. I mean, I don't know how much more apocalyptical I can be, but keeping in mind,
all right,
guys,
I got you,
that if people don't vote, like one of the things that they ran into, Don, is in Georgia and in Warnock's victory, is they caused their own voters to suppress their own vote because they believed so much that the election was rigged, right? So it's a fine line of like how despondent do you want to be to people when you need them to vote, and if they don't vote and this is the last exit there is, and I don't even know if we can get off the plane, but this at least gives us one little iota of control that we have zero now. And so, you know, it's really important that we operate as if they're going to be free and fair. We can't afford to sit there and say, well, fuck it, you know, that's going to be fraud, so why bother? Because if we did that, voters would respond to it, and it's just a part of political behavior, unfortunately.
Okay. Do you feel like me or like Rachel? We're somewhere. I know Rachel, she is being apocalyptic, but I have real concerns, Waj.
I believe the evidence of my eyes and ears, and I believe they will do anything and everything in their power to try to cheat or steal the election. I want to quickly just say, first and foremost, Donald Trump last week said, we need Republicans to take over the elections. He says he wants to get rid of mail-in votes. He also said he wants gerrymandering. The gerrymandering has turned into a dummy-mandering that is helping Democrats. He also said he wants ICE, right? They haven't ruled out ICE patrolling the polling stations. We also know that, if I may, that the Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, joined the FBI in a raid, got the original ballots from Fulton County, Furthermore, what really scares me, if none of this works, Don, I want you all to remember that when Donald Trump was asked twice whether or not he would invoke the Insurrection Act, he didn't say no. And the other person who invoked the Insurrection Act was Pam Bondi, and the other person was Stephen Miller. And if, God forbid, they invoke the Insurrection Act and they federalize the National Guard, then what they can say is all these Somalis, all these Venezuelans, all these Antifa, they're a national security threat. By the power invested in me, I have to invoke the Insurrection Act against these insurgents. We're going to pause the elections, we'll punt it, and then you'll have martial law. And why don't you take this man literally and seriously, Don, when he incited a violent insurrection against the election that he lost and pardoned the 1,600 insurrectionists? So I'm like you. I think he will do anything and everything to stay in power.
Okay, Max Tani, thank you for that. Max Tani, thank you for joining us. So, the news came last night that Anderson Cooper is leaving 60 Minutes.